How's everybody doing? How's things? How's life? How has your week been? Welcome to the stream. Hello. What has everybody been up to? We should be going live? And we are. Wonderful. Yeah. Hello. How's everybody doing? How's things? Oh, let me close Thunderbird before it yells at you and it makes a horrible annoying noise. So yeah, I'm a good streamer. I remember things sometimes. Sometimes. Not often. Yeah, hello. How's everybody doing? How's things? Ba, 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 ba. Wunderbar. I've been very busy. Busy being ill, as always. But also busy being well, busy. I have 3 videos on the go at the moment. 6 if you include the projects. I have 3 projects on the go at the moment. Actually 4 if you include the car. So yeah, busy. Hello, John. How you doing, man? How's things? Welcome. Good evening. Good after evening noon, depending where you are. Gonna drive, so catching the first 20 minutes. I hope you're okay. I'm not. Tomorrow is my last day of the steroids. I have but 1 pill left. I cut them up because I had to take a varying amount each week. It was 8 in the first week, 7 in the next week, etc., etc. Yeah, tomorrow's my last day on steroids at all, and yeah, the sachets that I take in the morning, the weird granule things, they ain't it, chief. So yeah, I've emailed the inflammatory bowel disease team. Hopefully they'll get back to me soon. But yeah, I'm probably gonna be on immunosuppressants pretty soon. Don't really want to be, but yeah. So yeah, my guts aren't happy. I'm back to the old Rhea. There's some blood. Yeah, not great. So I don't know if I mentioned this last week, but being on anti-inflammatory steroids, especially a fairly high dose, was utterly beautiful for fixing all of my other problems, like the joint pain, the back pain, the eye pain. Like, my eyes have did the thing a couple times during the last 2 months that I've been on these, but I barely noticed. Like, the vision problem was a bit of a problem, but like it was nowhere near as bad as it is normally. I had it a couple days ago and I was in agony again. All my joints hurt again, my back hurts again. And I cannot describe how soul crushing it is to have had the solution to your problems, to all of the pain and suffering I have to deal with on a daily basis, and to have that go away and to have the pain come back. Whoa. In other news, I have an autism assessment next week, so I might have an official diagnosis. I think it's Wednesday, so I might have an official diagnosis by next week's stream. I get to say I'm officially autistic, as well as ADHD. Glad you haven't perished yet. Keep on fighting just out of spite, mate. Yeah, that's life, innit? Spite and love for my wife. Mostly love for my wife. Occasionally spite. Yeah, I'm keeping on. I mean, I'm busy. I think I mentioned last week, but I'm making an open source bed heater and cooler. This is the PCB for it. I'm actually really happy with it. Like, this isn't probably a project that I'm gonna be making, like, I don't know, maybe, but I did make an mistake and had to correct it with a little piggyback PCB. But yeah, look, it uses a PC power supply and some MOSFETs and fan connectors and 4-pin fan headers. Like, I have almost a motherboard here. Look, there's even a computer. It's a microcomputer, but it's a computer. Also, I'm really proud of this. Right up there is a little transistor that toggles the power pin as if you press the power button. I'm quite pleased with that one. So the whole board, like, the microcontroller is powered by the 5-volt standby power, which is always available as soon as the power supply is plugged in. So that wakes this up, powers it, and then when you're ready to, like, turn it on, this toggles that transistor, which turns the power supply on. Yeah, quite happy. Hello, Ryan. Good to see you. Well, good to see your name and text of you. How you doing, man? How's things? I am. I was playing PUBG, both solo and with a few people from Discord, and I got a couple of wins. I sent it to Harry, and he said, "You guys still, you and Mullet still play occasionally." So I've spoken about you recently. Hello, Mark. How you doing, man? How's things? Welcome back. Also, I hope you're doing well. Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that I'm still alive and I'm actually doing quite well in terms of, like, projects and tools and things. My my open source tools, in fact, this is the newest one that's not out yet. Is is taking up a lot of my time. Actually, Apple just bought their 5th response time or latency tool. But physically, no, I'm not well at all. I have developed ulcerative colitis, so my whole colon is inflamed, causing diarrhea and blood. And yeah, it's really not well. Yeah, yeah. That and the joint pain, the back pain, the map dot dystrophy, which makes the front layer of my cornea detach, and the rest of it makes me blind and in agony. The ADHD and autism, and a few other things. So yeah, I'm not well. Will I be seeing you in September for the stag? I don't remember if you're in the list. If you're in the group chat. Good if I am. Hello, Jim. I'm in bed with Rona. Oh no! Is this the first time you've had it or not? Because that can vary how bad it is. But I hope you're okay. I hope you can get over it. I hope it doesn't linger and at all. Yeah. Third. Okay. Well, at least it's not the first. I think that's often the worst one. But yeah. Hello, Simon. How you doing? How's things? Hello, Brett. The eye thing is strange. What's with that? Mind elaborating? Yeah, so it's a condition called map dot dystrophy, MAPDOT dystrophy, and basically your cornea is made up of a bunch of layers of it's not flash like lens material, and basically what happens for me is that I have lots of autoimmune conditions, funnily enough, this is the problem. And I get inflammation in my eye, and it separates from the rest of my eye. So, but often in blotches. One of the doctors had described it as it looked like I'd been burned with acid. Like it looked like I have an acid burn on my, like, the surface of my eye. And yeah, it feels like it. It's absolute agony. I have blotchy, blurry vision in wherever it is detached, because obviously your eye is a lens, and if part of it has like pulled away, light is not going through that clearly anymore. So, yeah, it's like I think the eye pain is possibly the worst one that I have. Although the like stomach ulcers and stomach pain is also really quite bad. This is a race to the bottom type of competition. Something either fell over or there was an accident outside. Look at my security camera. Keep entertaining yourselves. What the heck are they doing with them? Eating them? Making wall art? What was that in reference to? Simon? Sorry, I'm slightly focusing on the camera thing. Where's the good timeline? No, it's not genetic. Well, it's an autoimmune condition, like everything else. And yeah, that's the problem. Oh, Apple, the response center was right. Yes. No, so it's three different people. One guy who used to work at Wirecutter, who moved to Apple. Another guy, who's like fairly high up, like whatever, and someone else new. A third person has bought one. Two seconds. Delaminates. Yes, that's pretty much it. Ryan, best wishes for a speedy recovery. I'd love if I could. Unfortunately this is a for life thing, and I'm probably going to need to what you call it, be on immunosuppressants for the rest of my life. I'm not a stylist, but we'll be at the wedding. Well, I'll see you then at very least. When can we see RTX 5000 series laptops? Well, first the 5000 series desktop cards would have to launch, which I think we were expecting this year, but not sure. Nvidia kind of is busy with AI, and then there's normally a bit of a delay between the desktop cards coming out and the mobile chips being available. That can be anywhere from like 3 months to like 9 months. um, so yeah. AI indeed. Um, what do we think of the Galaxy Ring? Is that a new? Hold on. Let me just look. Ah, I see. I have not seen this yet. Uh, so it's basically a fitness tracker, right? With a smart, like how a lot of fitness trackers went to being able to control things like music or whatever. I assume that's what this is. I mean, 7-day battery life from a battery that's inside a ring is impressive. Oh, AI powered health experience. Oh, it does heart rate and what you call it? Heart rate and blood ox. Well, that's quite impressive for the size. Skin temperature. That's also pretty cool. I hate AI with a passion. With a passion. I mean, for £400, that's an awful lot of money. Looks kind of cool, but yeah. Hope you get more cool drugs though. Well, yes, but also no. uh, Playground. Hello, how you doing? How's things? I bought, kind of bought, an Hello Q, an laptop with a 4060 now, Ryzen 7 one. I just don't want to get outdated quickly. I probably think 5060 laptop will be seen next year, Q4. Uh, that's certainly a possibility. It would be Q4 feels a little on the late side for me. But also to be clear, like even if there is uh, an upgrade in performance, which obviously there will be generation to generation, that doesn't make your 4060 useless, right? Like the only benefit in that case is you essentially get more headroom to play the existing games, or when new games come along that can leverage that more headroom to then end up with the same level of performance as you would have on your 4060 with, whatever. Like, new stuff coming out doesn't immediately invalidate your existing stuff. That's what I'm trying to say. So, realistically, even if it came out tomorrow, does it really matter? Well, not really. I understand on a personal level how you would want it to sort of come out as late as possible so that you feel like you shouldn't have just waited for the new thing. And rest assured, you should never really wait for the new thing, like unless it's absolutely confirmed, like they've already launched, like announced when it's going to be, and they've you know, shown the performance difference, and they've talked about pricing, and so you can be sure of the sort of three main things of when, how much, and why. Uh, Really, you shouldn't be waiting for the next thing, especially if you don't already have the thing. Like, if you've already got a system that's okay, you're managing okay, but you'd like, say, a better graphics card, then there's more argument for waiting for whatever the new generation is to get a better value than just buying now. But if you already, especially if you don't already have a thing, like with a laptop, that's not just oh, you can keep going with the nothing you have. um, so yeah, I wouldn't be worried about it. I can see you're looking for some justification, but yeah, I wouldn't be worried. Uh, Hello Joe, hey doing? How's things? I'm yeah, not well. Uh, Andy, did you see the video from Wendell from Live on Text released last night about 13th and 14th gen Intel CPUs causing game servers to have 100x higher crash rates than AMD? He was given access to crash debug databases by game developers, and he dug real deep. Very interesting and worrying video. Yes. So first of all, whatever I say about this video, you should go watch it. One, just because it deserves more views. Two, you should like it because it deserves more views and those likes help. And three, you should go watch it. However, a short summary is Wendell is an absolute god, and he talked to two different game developers who gave him access to their crash reports database, which is mostly the last like 90 days of crashes. So we're not necessarily talking about the last 6 to 12 months when these chips have been out and these issues have been becoming clearer. We're just talking like basically the last 3 months. Now, of those crashes, the vast majority were Intel CPUs, and the vast majority of those were the i9s. The advice Intel has given thus far is mostly surrounding power limits and, you know, like clock speeds. Like, don't overclock it, and don't let motherboard vendors screw you over and use insane multipliers. You want to set like lower multipliers. Basically, you want it to not perform as Intel sold it to you. And they're just kind of pretending that that's enough. The interesting thing is that Intel has really been pinning this on the motherboard vendor, like, partners, which I think is interesting. Because as Wendo noticed in that video, when motherboard vendor partners did this thing, this power limits problem to AMD, specifically when they let the CPUs draw so much power that they literally exploded, AMD was very quick to say, if you've been wronged by this, we're going to make it right. You'll get a new CPU, you get a new motherboard, we're going to take care of it. Whether they ended up billing the motherboard vendors for those new CPUs or not, doesn't matter to you because you were being made whole. Intel goes, oh, well, it's the motherboard vendor's problem. You can maybe use our RMA service if yours dies or fails too badly. Bye. So yeah, that was interesting. But what was more interesting to me was the sort of second half of the video, where it turns out that a lot of game developers use desktop chips in server class motherboards, or workstation class motherboards, to run their game servers, because basically really high clock speeds that you get in gaming chips like the 13 and 14900K is actually really good for gaming servers. That single-threaded speed is fantastic for them. And so they buy these server systems that have desktop CPUs in them. And the interesting part about that is that not only do those servers crash a shit ton, costing the developers money, because if their server crashes, their game goes down, and then they're losing money. And one of the quotes that he said was that one game developer said that they're losing $100,000 in players because of these server crashes from these Intel chips. Is Intel making them whole? I don't think so. Anyway, but the interesting thing is that these servers are using workstation class boards. They're is it WS 680 or W680? W680. Or is it WS? 680 chipsets, W series, so workstation boards, rather than Z series, say 690. And that's kind of important because workstation boards don't really care about overclocking or pushing power limits. So the argument that Intel has been making thus far, that it's the motherboard vendor's fault, it's the motherboard vendors, don't look at us. Why are these servers crashing so much then? What's even more interesting is that Wendo, again, is a god, and was able to insert himself into the purchasing decisions for one of these game companies, and called one of the data center providers who sells these systems to the game companies, or essentially to the data center to be put in and whatever. Anyway, point is, he was selling. He talked to the people who sell these, and asked a very interesting question, which was that why is a 13 or 14900K system £1,000 or dollars more than it was last year? specifically in the support contract part. And the answer was from the data center provider, the one who provides the support for the systems as well, was we have put so much time and effort into supporting systems like these that we have sold. We've had to disable E-cores, we've had to update BIOSes, we've had to change memory speeds, we've had to change clock speeds, we've had to, like, do an awful lot more support than they're expecting. And so basically they're saying, well, if we're going to sell this system, we know that it's going to cost us an extra $1,000 over the 3-year support contract to manage that system than any other system they sell. Even more interestingly, the support rep was like, yeah, so we actually recommend, we've been pushing people towards AMD 7950X systems, which are almost always faster anyway. So yeah, I found that pretty interesting. There's a lot more to the video. In fact, I think Wendell also does a bit of testing on some of those data center systems, which again, God. But yeah, you should watch that video. If anyone, none of my moderators are here. God damn it. Do you know what? No, I will take time out of this grade A class stream. It's not really, is it? To find and post. Right click, copy, click, paste. I apparently cannot copy. Okay, fine. Right. That is the link to the video. You should watch it after the stream. Yeah. There were comments that said builds I'd found something too. Interesting. I'll have to have a look. Fantastic recap of Andy. Go watch the video after the stream. I agree. If you had to buy a GPU for 1440p gaming today with a focus on value for money, what would you pick? So you're still like 60 class cards, especially of the most recent generation, can do 1440p. I think it depends on what your budget and what counts, like what counts towards value for money for you. But as a sweeping generalization, it would probably be is there a 4060 Ti? Probably that or a 70. Maybe I would look at a 3070 Ti, maybe even 3080 depending on prices. If you can stomach the higher power bills at probably a lower used cost, and you can stomach the fact that it's a used card. AMD does have some decent options in the probably not the 7600 XT, probably the 7700 XT, or 7700, whatever one it is. But probably in that range is my go-to answer, or used in higher ranges. The one thing that I would potentially be careful with is how much VRAM you get. Because right now, even at 1440p, you don't really need much more than 8 gigabytes. I think I did a video, at least with the 7600 and 7600 XT, because they're functionally the same card. But the 7600 XT has 16 gig VRAM. And I was looking at VRAM usage, and there's functionally no difference between them. However, because most people keep their GPUs for quite a while, if I'm thinking 2 to 5 years in the future, I probably want 16. Maybe 12, whatever you can get, but
the 3070 Ti only has 8, that would be a problem for me, I think. My 6600 XT has 8 gigabytes of VRAM and it struggles. So there's probably column A, column B to that, because 6600 XT isn't a super fast card, or super fast core. You can use a few different tools to check VRAM usage. In fact, actually, you can technically do it in Task Manager as well. So you can use that to see how much VRAM you're using in various games. But yeah, especially if you're thinking long term, I would probably want more than 8 or 1440p RI. It was a replacement under warranty. Yeah, it kind of sucks. I might give it to my dad for 1080p. Yeah, I mean, for 1080p, perfectly fine. For sure. We live in a very different age right now. Many years ago, if there were issues within a company or service, it was what it was. Nowadays, the community are very proactive in getting it resolved. Yeah, I mean, well, I think the difference is that there was potentially more professional responsibility, like especially for those server issues. If Intel was a bit of a smaller company, I think that they would care. I think that they would care that their chips have what you call it, like serious issues that are causing instability crashes, and especially on those like data center sort of parts or use cases, they're costing companies significant amounts of money, both in labor costs in trying to fix them and trying to troubleshoot things, but also in terms of just like lost customers and lost revenue. I think that they would care, but as it seems currently, they don't. um Neotoku, actually, if you increase your RAM on your PC to 32 gigabytes, won't all the additional memory load from the graphics card get shifted onto the RAM and solve the problem? So, technically, yes. Practically, no, that makes it worse. So, if you've noticed a trend in graphics cards, it's that the graphics memory has become more and more important over time, and has become faster and faster, and even closer to the oh, thank you very much, Oddbell. It's become even closer to the die. So much so that we're getting high bandwidth memory, which is memory packages literally on the same package as the core itself. And the interesting thing there is basically that graphics memory is incredibly fast. Incredibly fast. Whereas your system RAM is A, very far away. Like, very far away. B, it's hidden behind the CPU. And C, it's actually considerably slower. Like, I think the effective bandwidth for DDR6 is like 21 gigahertz of effective bandwidth. System memory is what, 5.6 gigahertz? It's 4 times slower. And then on top of that, it is further away, like especially in like speed of light through copper terms, quite far. So the access time is horrible, and you've got to go through the CPU to get to it, which is even slower. So what happens when your graphics card VRAM fills up and it starts to overflow into system memory is that everything chugs like hell, and you get way less performance because it is trying to use like postal mail to like if you run out of internet bandwidth while you're instant messaging someone, it's effectively like then using postal mail to finish communicating. It's pointlessly slow. There's more to just than having 8 gigabytes. The card itself needs to be up to the task. It's like saying my car has 4 wheels, just like a Ferrari, but they're nothing alike. Kind of, yes. Which is why I was saying that the 6600 XT having 8 gigabytes of VRAM isn't really a big deal, because the chip itself can't really keep up with needing more, you know? That kind of thing. Lower your graphics setting to solve game crashes. Game crashes waste time. I'm using a 1660 Super. I know what it's like even on an AOC 240Hz VA monitor. I get 6 gigabytes. So first of all, with the Intel crashes in particular, it's not just games that make the system crash. In fact, the main point of Windows, or one of the points of Windows Video, is that compression is one of the interesting things that seem to cause it, and but in varying forms, like in unpredictable ways. Like, you could run the same test on the same system 10 times in a row and only have one crash, even when all of the other conditions are functionally identical. Like, isn't that insane? But also, one of the systems would crash every time they did I think he said SMT, like simultaneous multi-threading test. So yeah, really weird behavior that cannot just be solved by lowering your settings. Oh yeah, PCIe, NVMe IO errors again. That was a big thing. Gonna do the drone theory test tomorrow. Nice. It's really easy. You just pick the ones that are like... The questions of the test are like, if you're flying over a crowd of people, like, do you A, kamikaze the drone into them, B, kamikaze the drone with a firearm, or C, fly respectfully over them and make sure that, you know, it's under 249 grams, otherwise don't fly directly over them. Like, basically, the main drone rules in the UK are, if it's under 249 grams, as long as you're being respectful and not hurting anybody, you can kind of do anything. You can fly over people, you can, you know, whatever, like, it's fine. If it's over 249 grams but under like 20 kilos, you don't need insurance still, and that's pretty much it. Yeah. Yes, the Mini 3 is 249. It's under 250 grams, which is why the Mini 3 is 249, and why my Mini 2, Mini Air, Mini 2, is also 249 grams. And why my friend Phil's Mini 1 is also 249 grams. John, no worries. I'll catch you in the VOD. Have fun as much as you can. Oh, and how'd you find the flying itself? Yeah, it's really easy. So ironically, I actually have a bit of experience flying more like FPV style drones, where you're actually like controlling the throttle. And so the very first time that I flew it, I tried to control it like a throttle, but it's not. It's very abstracted. So the left stick, sorry, is up and down and yaw left and right. The right stick is forward, backwards, tilt left and right. So if you floor the left stick, all it will do is floor upwards. If you floor the right stick, it will fly forwards as fast as it can in whatever mode you're in. Sport mode or Sport Plus or whichever one it is the fastest. The like cinematic mode, whatever, that actually limits how much it can tilt as well. So if you want to be able to say keep up with a car, let's say,
as I was doing once. You need to put it in sport mode, but that also disables some of the extra sensors and stuff. Although the minis in particular don't have that many sensors because weight. They have the ground proximity, but they don't have front and back crash like the full fat Mavics do. But yeah, as long as you're in an open area, perfectly fine. I did in fact crash mine into a rugby post once, and then had to fix it. But yeah, it is easy enough. The only thing that can got me a bit is that they're, especially on the two that I have, which uses your phone instead of the controller with the screen on it, is that there is a bit of a delay between what you see on the screen and what you see in the air. And if you're trying to fly with the screen, which you kind of have to do if it's very far away, although that's the thing on the test, you have to be flying within line of sight range, so yeah. Yeah. You have to, what do you call it? You kind of deal with flying that, well, it's, you know, a mile in the air, or 400 meters, and then flying via line of sight when it's close or when there's obstacles. My C drive is kind of filled up. How many gigs should I add? I have 4 terabytes to spare some space. I'm a bit confused by what you mean your C drive is full, but you have 4 terabytes. As in you have 4 terabytes on a different drive? Because the main thing is that your C drive isn't just where like Windows is installed, it's also where the app data folder is, which tends to grow and shrink with use depending on what you're doing. It's where your default Steam location is. Okay, so you got a different drive. In that case, I don't quite understand how you're planning on expanding the C drive by using a second drive, because your like a Windows drive, like your C drive, is a fixed partition on a single drive. Unless you mean clearing stuff off of the C drive, in which case, yeah, sure. Realistically, you want as much space, as much free space on your C drive as you can, really. Like 10 gig is not a lot of free space on the C drive. Yes, Steam does let you move games. Yeah, you definitely should use a secondary drive for your Steam games if your C drive isn't massive. If you can, but yeah. Reminds me of the corporate training required in my job. The courses about inclusion and integrity are basically like, pick the answer that doesn't get you fired. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna go into my wife's granddad's farm and try it there in the open fields. It's got 10 kilometers of range, which is ludicrous. Be too scared to let it go anywhere near half that. I agree. Yeah, no, I don't like mine going that far. Yeah, no. KHINH. I'm sorry that I can't say that name, but I would recommend this. This turns off the page file. Or Hyper file, sorry. Turns off the hibernate option, which probably isn't even enabled, but is likely still taking up a bunch of space. Actually, I highly recommend a program called WinDirStat. WinDirStat. It's I'm pretty sure free and open source. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Tool that will scan your drive and give you a visualization of what files are there. Highly recommend using it. It's great for clearing up space. I use 1 to 2. I assume you mean terabyte, Simon, C drives, and run 2 to 3 NVMe drives as storage, mainly 2 terabyte each. Fair, yeah. Yeah, my C drive is 2 terabytes. I've got another 2 terabyte drive, and then I also have a 2 terabyte hard drive. Because legacy. And I've also
I think I mentioned this last week, but I've moved my QNAP NAS, which is no longer on top of the PC, to the 4 8 TB drives that were in my QNAP NAS. I've moved them into a custom built NAS with a 10400F running TrueNAS in my old Fantex M2 Evolve. That's going really well. Anything exciting content-wise coming up? Anything that's actually excited you to work with? Yeah, a couple of things actually. Monday's video is a Razer keyboard, which has a couple of really cool features. One of them, especially for CS2, is kind of basically aim hacks. Like, not really, but kinda. I definitely really like cool features. It's an analog keyboard. It's Razer's Gen 2 or V2 analog switches, which are full like travel comparison. Yeah, and that means you can do a lot of cool stuff with it. And so yeah, that. I have an SSD that I can't talk about until, well, next Wednesday, so I can talk about it next stream, but the video will be out on Friday. That's actually really cool. It's really good. Recommend it. But most of all are my own projects. One of which is the open source bed cooler that I now have the PCBs for. Actually, I have the tech too. So this is a heatsink with tiny, kind of annoying fans, a Chinesian water block, and then in the middle there are 4 thermoelectric generators, coolers, Peltier modules, which you just hook up with these. And so basically what this board does is control both the fans and the techs here, and the very nice Fantex water pump that Overclocker sent over. Thank you very much. And the 4 of those 5 MOSFETs, this one controls the fans. Are they there? Current limiting resistors. And the other 4 of them create either a positive a flow that way or a flow that way, because the thing about Peltier modules is depending on which way they're wired, so if you wire them one way, one side gets cool and one side gets hot, but if you just wire them the other way, then one side gets hot and the other side gets cool. And so what that means is that you can, for this is essentially my heat or cooling output. So this goes to the tubing, which goes through the mattress topper and, you know, into the bed and into us. And so what you want is, this side is a sort of active side. This side is the, well, we're just going to deal with whatever the opposite is. So if you want your bed to be cooler, well, you run the techs one way, and the water that comes out of here will come out cooler than it goes in. All is well. But if in the winter you want the bed to warm you instead, well, you just switch around the wires essentially, and this can now heat the water and extract heat from the room instead. Isn't that cool? And so this PCB can basically do that switching for you, as well as also control it. And so yeah, that's I made a bit of a mistake in the wiring. Well, technically it's not a mistake in the wiring. These transistors or MOSFETs, when you apply a voltage to the gate pin, depending on how big the voltage is, depends on how open they are and depends how much resistance there is. The problem is I was planning on using this microcontroller to do the opening of the pins, which it can do. These transistors will open at 3.3 volts, but only just. Basically, they'll just be really high resistance and they'll get too hot, basically. And so I'm using piggyback transistors to use 12 volts to open them instead, and that's much better. In the more finished PCB version that I may or may not make it, well, I'll make available, but whether I'll sell a pre-made kit type thing or not. I'm not sure. Maybe, but yeah, it'll have those included properly. There's actually a couple of other little changes I made. The one fun thing is that I have the proper 24-pin and 8-pin CPU power headers. Much like a motherboard, you only need to use one of these, but if you're going to use all 8 techs, so 2 of those units, if you want more cooling capacity or more heating capacity, you need to use both of them. Whereas if you're only using the 4 that comes in one of those, then you only need to use one. Kind of nice. And also proper 4-pin PWM fan headers, which this thing should be able to control. So yeah, I'm quite pleased. That has been taking a lot of my time. That is a real thing, yes. Well, so basically, there are already companies that sell what I'm DIYing. However, there's no polite way to say this. They want $2.5 to $3 grand for a mattress topper with less cooling power than this thing. And I don't have $2.5 grand to spend on a mattress topper with less cooling power than this thing. This whole thing, cost me £37, and it was drop ship from AliExpress. So really, this thing cost like 20 quid. This whole thing, like the Vortex, the water pump, assembled like this, it's like 20 quid. If I can make a little box with, okay, probably not the mattress topper because that thing is massive and sod trying to ship that thing. But even just with the PCB that lets you then buy this other stuff for like 50 quid, 100 quid at most. That's some savings, you know? So yeah. Yeah. Well, so the PCB would depend on the final cost for me, and it would also, I guess, I would probably have to include the ESP board, but the ESP boards are like 20-30 quid each, so that's a thing. That's 37. I bought some 8mm PVC tubing for like 30 quid. I bought a couple of fittings. In fact, actually, I bought some quick disconnect fittings so that you can be able to detach the mattress topper part without having to like drain the line, basically. I think the fittings were another 25-30 quid. And the mattress topper was 30 quid. So yeah, I think I'm only into this like 150 quid or so. And a bit of labor to cut out the... No, so that is DIY. That is the part that I would be DIYing. Cutting a sort of a V channel out of the back of the mattress topper, in a bit of a loop, feeding the tubing in, and then gluing, cutting a bit off, and then gluing the thing back together so that it's all stuck nicely. That will be one of the manual labor parts of the DIY. But again, I think for like under 1/10 of the cost, 20 minutes with a Stanley knife and some glue, I think would be worth it. I don't know about you. Best of luck, Chris. My NAS needs upgrading. I'm thinking of using my old 9700K and 8 14 to 16 terabyte drives. Yeah, I mean, so I'm using a 10400F, but a 9700K is pretty similar in terms of NAS performance. The only thing I would recommend is a shit ton of RAM. You like 32 or 64 gigs of RAM, especially if you're going to use TrueNAS and ZFS. ZFS uses a shit ton of RAM anyway. I've only got 16 in that, and that's hurting. But it wouldn't boot with anything else, so I'll take what I can get. Jim, I've been using that NAS for, I think, 8 years. Maybe even more than that, actually. It might be more like 10 years. Yeah. I got used out of it. Especially because it was a review sample. Blah, 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 blah. Oh yeah, the other thing that has been really well. So this is the new latency tool. It has 3 pins, so it'll be coming with crocodile clip and a banana plug, and some aluminium foil tape. So what you do is I'll be giving like including strips of these in with the kits. So you take your crocodile clip and you. I didn't get the best crocodile clips. I'm kind of annoyed, and I might get some different ones. But you attach the crocodile clip to the aluminium foil tape, and you put the aluminium foil tape, the little strip, on your mouse button, so it'll, you know, be kind of like that. And then you use the banana plug to tap the mouse button. It'll be a bit more graceful when it's a little strip tapped to a mouse instead. Anyway, to actuate your mouse button, so you basically get the best of both worlds in terms of using the 2-pin input so that the board knows exactly when you pressed it and not just when it made the loudest part of the sound. But also, you don't have to solder to your mouse, which most people don't want to do. So that's kind of the second biggest benefit of the new CS chips shortage latency tool. That way around. That will be fixed for the proper ones. The other one is a much improved audio sensor type thing. So I'm very happy with this, and I'll be getting those boards hopefully soon. I kind of need to finish buying the house first, because my now agreed upon mortgage have keep sort of umming and ahhing about my credit card usage, which is annoying. So I'm kind of trying to keep my credit card usage down for a bit until we buy the house. Hopefully that's pretty soon, and then I can buy the boards, and then I can I'll be doing a video about it, obviously. But the other one that's been taking up my time is this bad boy. This is the new expert response time tool. This is essentially meant to be sort of a more lab grade tool, with a proper photodiode, like a canned photodiode, and that will actually be available with a National Institute of Standards and Technology traceably calibrated photodiode as well for the sort of enterprise customers that want it. And the main thing that I've been doing, so first of all, let me just yeah. Okay, that's not gonna work. That chip there is a 1 megasample per second analog to digital converter. So while this chip, the big microcontroller in the middle, has actually 2 1 megasample per second analog to digital converters built in, they kind of suck. Like, they're fine, but especially for lab grade stuff like this, you want an external one so that it's just outright less noisy. It's also a true 16-bit analog to digital converter, whereas the one in here, or the 2 that are in here, are 12-bit. So you get better range and better accuracy, and it's more linear. I have a fancy new op-amp for it, operational amplifier, and then obviously the new photodiode. And basically this, especially the new ADC, which took quite a lot of time for me to just get any usable readings from, that took some time. And I've also today and yesterday been debugging the light sensor circuit and working out what resistance values I need, and I actually need to go back and change them again later. And I've just bought a kit of 0805 1800 pieces of resistors to be able to go and swap them out. Tiny little things. So yeah, that's what I've been up to. A lot. I've been busy and fixing a car. Do you pay the credit card bill each month? I do. It's just for whatever reason their like automatic loan system just sees high credit card usage at any given point and freaks out. So yeah. Ironically, the credit card is actually with the same bank that we're getting the mortgage with, but they can't see that I've been paying it off for over a year straight every month. I've never missed a payment. I've paid it off in full every month. Yeah. Although unless you have an Amex, you don't get points for credit cards in the UK. But you have to pay for an Amex, so yeah. Wanted to ask you on the stream, do you have any recommendations for a 4K camera that can use an external SSD for storage without going to silly boy money? Did you have a GH5? Because I could swear that if you hook up a USB-C SSD to that, it will do external. I could be wrong. I know that a lot of Blackmagic cameras do that. But off the top of my head, as much as I do love cameras, I'm not exactly up to date on camera tech and like niche features like that. Like I don't play with many cameras. I use my own. I'm very familiar with my own. But yeah. Ah, okay, right. I'm pretty sure. Just look it up quickly. Not possible. Okay. No Blackmagic can do it. Maybe it was the GH6 that could do it then? Yeah. Not sure. Does HTCP add input lag? That's not something I've tested. Mostly because you'd have to be playing HTCP content, in which case it doesn't matter. I suppose it might matter with an external speaker setup, but I don't think so. Because you often have display stream compression anyway, like with DisplayPort, for example, and that doesn't add any latency or any noticeable latency. So, yeah, I don't think so. I'm not 100% sure. 64 gig RAM it is. Now, can you still get DDR4 that's 232? I think so, yeah. Could be able to. Although currently, I suppose that is technically last gen now. Wow. Interesting. How long will the 4060 be able to run the latest games coming out at 1080p? It's very hard to say. It also depends on what settings you prefer. But you can look historically, and you know, if you look at the 3060 laptop, that's still perfectly fine. You look at the 2060 laptop, it's okay, could be better. The 1060 laptop, you're probably getting dicey on some new games, even on low settings, but it's still probably okay, especially on like low settings at 1080p, probably fine. 960M, that's a bit more of a problem. So probably for like 5 years, as long as you're willing to play on sort of lower and lower settings on your newer and newer games. What should I invest in next from my MG? I forgot. I did read your message earlier. My MG's been a burger today. Had the right front indicator go out and had to replace the entire socket section because it's rusted. Yeah. What should you invest in? An LS? Here's okay. I mean, in all of the laptop benchmarks that I do, I disable DLSS. FSR depends on the game. Because I specifically run with presets for comparative's sake. So for example, Cyberpunk does have FSR enabled, but doesn't have DLSS enabled when I test it. And they're still doing fine at 1080p on medium to low settings. So yeah. Nice one, Joe. Enjoy. I have heard that about the Legion Go, yeah. Chris, you should probably use two rotors because good luck finding a 4-rotor anywhere. Also, can you hurry up and pay off your credit card debt first before investing in a money pit? Where are you gonna get a 4-rotor crankshaft from? Ow. Well, I think I'm gonna go not live anymore. No, I'm gonna call it there. That is our usual hour anyway. I hope you all have a fantastic week. I hope you all stay safe. I hope you all have fun. And yeah, tomorrow for video, Monday for video, next week for stream, and I might have a autism diagnosis. Fun times. But yeah, I will see you then.